To everyone. For those who have not met, my name is Tai Nguyen. I'm the Managing Director for AST. I would like to welcome everyone to our webinar today. In this webinar, we will cover what's new in the AST collection with the 2023 platform, and we'll go through some of the updates for the BIM Collaboration Pro as well. Also looking at the Autodesk new platform, including the SpaceMaker, Forge, and Wild. So during the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop it in the chat box. One of us will get back to you. With that, I would like to introduce you to Sam McAlister from Autodesk.
Cool, thanks, Ty. Yeah, so as I said, we're going to be covering what's new. We'll be touching on some of the cloud stuff. We may not have time to get into the SpaceMaker stuff just yet, but we'll see how we go for time at the end. The core things we're going to be covering today that are in the collection will be the FormIt Pro, Revit, and Navisworks. So just to give you an overview of the key themes before we launch into the new features, with FormIt Pro, we're going to be focusing on the new design productivity, cloud connection, and interoperability between Revit and FormIt. These are some of the features for design productivity, interoperability, and cloud workflows listed out here. And with the design productivity, FormIt 2023 allows you to navigate your model now using a two-point perspective view. So this type of projection, it's typical for drawing buildings and interiors. It displays a more natural dimensional representation of the space. To access this new two-point feature, it's under the View tab menu. So in the floating navigation bar, you can bring that down, or you can just type the V2 key on the fly. Basically, this will give you better experience with your FormIt design model. For anybody who has used FormIt in the past, in previous versions of using the model, you would close a sketch session, and if you didn't do save changes, it would discard the changes. So this issue would result in some data loss, which was inconsistent with other Autodesk software standards. So now when you close a sketch in FormIt 2023, like other applications, you are prompted with an unsaved changes dialog to save changes locally, to save the sketch locally or to the cloud or not save. So this new behavior, it's more consistent with the Autodesk standards, reducing the chances of accidentally losing any data. Performance improvement. So if you've used FormIt in the past, maybe it wasn't as fast as what it could have been. So we've been improving this massively, especially working with large models with various parts of the app. So in this release, you can expect to see these performance enhancements. We've got the backface and watertight diagnostics. The backface diagnostic is now instantaneous. The watertight issues diagnostic is now almost 11.5 times faster. The section plane and top view, you can place a section plane or toggle to a top view. It's going to be 6 times faster. Silhouette edges, so navigating those large models with the silhouette edges enabled, which could have been quite heavy on the engine. It's now almost 5 times faster. Painting materials, you can paint with a surface on a material inside a group instance for the first time in a session. This is now 3 times faster. And with the visual styles, when you toggle those style settings, so if you go to monotone, change the sky, the foggy edges, it's now 2.5 times faster. So for anybody who's wanting to get back into using FormIt, you're going to find a lot of improvements. Graphics improvements. So there's a number of improvements, including order independent transparency. So you can use this order independent transparency in FormIt, which fixes issues when transparent surfaces stack up in front of the camera. So an example of this is like transparent trees in front of a glossy glass surface. We also have better section cut edge visualization. So with this release, we've improved the way that you do the thicken edges for section planes, so you can properly visualize where the section plane intersects the geometry, including the camera clipping planes. The poche effect in camera, or the poche effect in camera near the clipping planes, we've added the ability to enable this effect with the fill of the section cut, even when there are no section planes active. So this is useful if you intentionally want to use the camera clipping plane to get the same graphical effect as a section cut. We have support for both bump map and normal maps. So we've added support for the bump maps, which are like a grayscale image to project the black and white further and recede it, or normal maps, which gives you that blue purple tinge overlay in the material editor, formerly labeled as bump map. Improved thumbnail preview quality. So we've drastically improved the accuracy of the 2D thumbnail preview for the material. So it uses the high resolution textures for the diffuse textures and also the bump and normal maps. One of the things that has also happened with a lot of our products is we've opened up the API. And so you can now do this yourself, or third-party developers are doing this, where they're building faster applications with the autocomplete feature in FormIt Pro. So autocomplete, it's an industry standard feature for an integrated application development environment. It's expected for efficient programming workflows. So developers building these custom applications in FormIt's API can now take advantage of the autocomplete feature when calling FormIt and WSM APIs. So all you need to do is type the start of FormIt or WSM APIs to see the list of possible candidates for easy auto-completion. Moving into cloud for FormIt. FormIt enables you to iterate your conceptual design by sharing scenes in Autodesk Docs. For those who aren't aware, you now get Autodesk Docs as part of your Autodesk AEC collection. It's included in that collection subscription. So with Docs, a scene is saved with a viewpoint in FormIt, capturing the camera position, the layer state, the sun position, and the visual style. Scenes that are useful to display the design options and also create animations to navigate through. So in the 2023 version of FormIt Pro, it has a list of active scenes in the model that is transferred as save views when you share your concept design in Autodesk Docs. To share the design option, you simply just enable the corresponding scene and then save it to Docs. Interoperability with Revit. So FormIt Pro and Revit 2023 introduced expanded features for interoperability, making it easier to iterate on early design stages. So we have the FormIt 3D sketch linking workflow. So with the sketch feature, we first introduced in Revit 2022, enables you to launch a FormIt session within Revit and translate the Revit elements as contextual geometry into FormIt, and import any new FormIt design studies back to Revit using the send to Revit command. In 2023, though, we have FormIt geometry that's brought into the Revit file as a linked file instead of a CAD import. So this will stream your round trip workflow. Editing in FormIt, while you're working in Revit, you can edit a linked file in FormIt in just 2 clicks. First, all you need to do is select the FormIt link in your Revit project, then click on the Edit in FormIt button, the new Edit in FormIt button, and on the Modify tab to open the linked model in a FormIt session. You can just continue iterating on your design using the fluid, intuitive modeling capabilities of FormIt. There's also expanded features for interoperability. So we have the sketch feature. Basically, you can translate Revit elements as context geometry into FormIt and change the study back. We can also send this back and forth. So the send to Revit preview mode enables the preview mode in the FormIt and select those layers that will transfer to Revit. So what you'll see is a blue frame at the view boundaries. They'll highlight the geometry that's going to be sent. Once you have verified all your selections, then you can use the send to Revit command to update the linked model in Revit. Or you can save the FormIt file and then reload it into Revit via the link dialog. So this is really going to improve the design workflows with this expanded interoperability. Dynamo, so as usual, we've updated the version of Dynamo used in FormIt so we can deliver the latest and greatest from the Dynamo team. Among other things, like Dynamo 2.13 features completely a redesigned interface, including the ability to collapse groups and simplify graphs. The Dynamo 2.13, it packs new features and improvements. So to know more about this, please check out the Dynamo Product Center to see what's new and improved. Added functionality here is the ability to control the display of curves and curved surfaces using Dynamo. So we've added two new FormIt group option nodes to control the faceting of curves and surfaces attached to send to FormIt nodes. So these new set curve facing and set surfacing faceting nodes will override the global curve and the surface faceting settings in the edit preferences units plus accuracy dialog. So this is really useful if your Dynamo graph needs to generate curved objects using specific faceting values, alleviating the need to change the global setting for each Dynamo graph run in its current session. Okay, so moving into Revit 2023, the big release. Key things to note here, we have 6 key themes: design productivity, simulation and analysis, interoperability, cloud and data, design optimization, and documentation efficiency. So we have numerous features here for design productivity: simulation and analysis, cloud data, interoperability, and optimization. And we have many more features for documentation efficiency. Okay, so the measure tool has been updated. So you can use this to quickly check distances in Revit between model elements or other references in your project. In previous releases, the measure between two references tool was enabled in 2D views only. 2023 adds support for both orthographic and perspective 3D views. So you can now snap your dimensions to any position in 3D without work plane restrictions. Using a new hotkey, just hold down the control and you can lock the measurement such that it remains perpendicular to the start of the face in 3D views. So this might be useful when measuring distances between two vertical walls. You can also measure the shortest distance to a target plane or a line by activating perpendicular snap through the contextual menu or using the SP command, snap perpendicular, in the keyboard to shortcut in 3D views. You might use this to measure the vertical height between 2 points that may not be located directly above each other. Work plane. So work plane associates your model geometry to reference a surface. So 2023, you can actually set the active work plane instantly by using PK as your shortcut. So alternatively, you can select pick a plane option in 2 clicks via set the work plane in the drop-down menu. But this will allow you now to smoothly switch between work planes during the modeling operation without a work plane dialog. Revit also remembers the last work plane used in the project. So this means that when you load and place a work plane-based family, Revit will now activate the last used work plane as the default placement option. This selection will be retained until you reset it. Now, duplicating materials. When you duplicate the assets or use shared assets, there are now 2 options available in the contextual menu. So number one, we have duplicate material and assets. So when you select this option, both the material and the assets from the source material are duplicated, and the newly created material and the source material have independent assets. So changes to the assets of the one material will not affect the other material. We also have number two here, duplicating duplicate using shared assets. So this time when the material is duplicated, the new material and the source material share common assets. Changes to the asset affect both the new material and the source material. So this is better, going to help you better manage your materials when making duplicates. 2023 enables you to share decals and material textures across geographically distributed teams using Autodesk Docs or potentially custom external servers via the API. So in previous versions of Revit, users who were rendering using BIM Collaborate Pro or BIM 360 projects, there'd be an issue because the missing render appearance warnings would show up because the workstation was outside the network and cannot be localized to the path of the custom texture files. So 2023, you can now map your custom texture images to Autodesk Docs folder path, allowing the render assets to be displaying consistently on every user's workstation. So you're working from home somewhere else, you've got that path link back to Docs. Just use the Autodesk desktop connector to exchange and explore these assets. For anybody wanting to do this on external servers, developers can access this feature in the Revit API to build their own custom server connections. When selecting a view reference, you can search the list for a specific view. So searching is now enabled in the view reference drop-down list when placing a view reference referencing another view. When creating sections through Revit, the objects are generally cut automatically when the section plane passes through the geometry. However, there were a few Revit categories that have not been cuttable in previous releases. So you may notice this with furniture systems, casework, specialty equipment, and plumbing fixtures. So 2023 has been enabled for these categories. Simply select an object belonging to one of these categories, click the Edit Family button, and ensure the Enable Cutting and Views parameter is checked in the Properties palette. Save the modified family and exit the family editor, return to your Revit project. Now when moving a section line, you will see that that family is cut automatically. 2023, if you want to rotate couplers with respect to the bar end for precise modeling with the clash avoidance. In the 3D views, the coupler geometry is always aligned to the bar end. When rotating the coupler, this is the default position. For freeform rebar, the default position of the coupler is parallel to the host surface. So to create complex geometry and display it in a realistic way in 2D views, you can edit the coupler family and uncheck the align to view option. So this feature will help those structural engineers on the call today and detailers to create highly detailed reinforcement models and documentation. You can also now change the structural usage value to non-bearing to create structural walls that define and divide spaces and support those no vertical load except their own weight. You can also export the non-bearing structural walls to IFC for accurate coordination of reinforced concrete partition walls. 2023 also introduces adaptive propagation features for rebar to increase your productivity in detailing concrete structures. When you're working on a design that has similar concrete elements, you can quickly and accurately copy shape-driven rebar from one concrete host to another. The concrete host elements not need be identical for the newly created bars for them to match their new host. So to use this feature, simply select a concrete element that hosts the rebar and click the propagate rebar command. Next, choose the alignment method or host by face. These rebars are aligned based on the original and on the original and destination faces. So a destination face can be selected from the same host or from another element in any Revit category that can host rebar. 2023 goes on to add library-based steel connection design and automation features. So you can both model your design intent faster and embed structural engineering and fabrication rules to reduce the amount of iterations. Sample rules are provided for placing steel connections based on a predefined ranges of applicability. These are found on the Steel Connection Automation player. So simply search by ranges or filter out those that you need to make use of the ranges of applicability. And an important fact to remember is that the structural members can leverage information stored inside analytical elements. So you may use the member and forces dialog to specify the internal forces and movements for steel connections. Your model can also use the structural analysis results imported into Revit from Robot Structural Analysis Professional or third-party tools. So performance of rebar. So the rebar display in the cloud viewer has been improved. You can now easily publish and open the 3D rebar views using docs or using Autodesk Construction Cloud Viewer to coordinate, inspect, and share 3D rebar details or views of the model. This one in response to a popular topic on the Revit Ideas Station. 2023 introduces new elevation parameter improvements for MEP segment tags. Elevation base options for tagging the upper end, lower end, and spot elevations of slope components now include top of insulation, top, centerline, bottom, and bottom of insulation. Upper and lower elevations also include obvert and invert tagging options. Another popular topic on Revit Ideas, 2023 introduces the new elevation-based options for MEP segment tags. So the MEP segment tags offer new parameters for elevation-based constraints in the properties palette. Constraints can be set to relative to the component or driven by the project's base point or survey point. MEP segment tags for design and fabrication will adjust automatically based on your selection. New in 2023 are the flip controls for fabrication parts. So simple feature, flip controls make fabrication parts more efficient and now more consistent with the Revit design parts. Also with the elevation controls for fabrication parts, elevation controls for straight segment fabrication parts now use an interactive in-canvas elevation marker. These are editable to control in the elevations on fabrication parts, and changing the elevation will move through the entire run. So unlike design elements, which would apply a slope to the run. So these improvements will help with fabrication parts, will help you detail more efficiently in Revit. 2023 has new MEP categories for plumbing equipment and mechanical control devices with corresponding family parameters. So button tools have been added to the plumbing ribbon and mechanical ribbon. Existing built-in content libraries have been updated with the corresponding content. 2023 enables you to rehost MEP connectors in the family editor. So the new tools, they include a pick new host and placement for face and work plane. When you rehost MEP connectors, the information is retained for the new placement. Relocating the MEP connectors will change or disconnect the location of the connection elements. Another user request, users have requested to save a step and no longer select activate dimensions for shared nested families. So Revit 2023 removes the extra step of clicking on activate dimensions from the option bar to view temporary dimensions of the shared nested families. 2023 also enhances model performance by skipping the regeneration and calculation of redundant rooms. This change improves the processing of linked file operations where anywhere between 15 and 20% for models with large number of room objects. The enhancement will be noticeable with models with area and volume computations enabled. Users have requested this one. This is to suppress on-screen controls and pins to have better display performance experience. So in 2023, the in-canvas displays now have tools for controls and are removed by default to reduce clutter and improve performance with large selections. With many elements selected, the display is improved by reducing in-canvas controls and providing tools to display previous legacy behaviors. Additional performance improvements here. So there are several to improve the overall view performance. So number one, performance for shape edited slabs. Revit users have request optimizations for viewing and adjusting shape edited slabs with many control points. 2023, the optimizations have been made to simplify the display of control points. So this is dot instead of bitmap images. Performance when linking in DWG files. Users have observed extremely long delays when linking in DWG files into Revit in past releases. A combination of small performance improvements have yielded performance gains up to 700x in linking DWG files within Revit 2023. So this is going to, for example, reduce the link time that could have been 2 hours to now 10 seconds for a specific example. Performance when copying large numbers of elements. The users reported challenges when copying large numbers of sketch-based elements. This has been improved. And performance when loading items in the type selector. So when the type selector it contains many items, users have reported negative impacts on performance. So 2023, these drawbacks are all but eliminated. An example of a detail item that might have previously taken 6 seconds is now immediate. An example of a generic model assembly item that might have taken 48 seconds is now immediate as well. Okay, so simulation and analysis, we have the analytical model. It's now completely autonomous. So you can choose to initiate structural analysis workflows from Revit without any physical context. So for example, when you're starting a project from scratch, you can focus exclusively on analytical modeling, just like you would in any traditional analysis software. In Revit, analytical elements are fully parametric and they're associated with the grids and the levels. So this will enable you to control element positioning using these datums. For the development of a structural analytical model, it's an essential step in a structural engineer's BIM process. And the model is often used in collaborative workflows across other engineering teams. So for many years, Revit has offered features for structural analytical modeling. However, for structural engineers, we're looking for more flexibility and control over the analytical modeling process, particularly when you get into more complex structures, as this will enable a fully bidirectional workflow between Revit and your chosen analysis software. So to that end, Revit introduces a completely new approach to structural analytical modeling. As before, you can leverage existing physical geometry in 2D and 3D views as context for the analytical model. The analytical model remains associated to the physical geometry, but is now independent, providing you with the benefits of speed and accuracy in model creation while protecting the analytical model from unexpected changes. 2023 also introduces the structural analytical model automation. So this tool will enable you to generate a structural analytical model automatically from selected physical geometry, and it offers many options for customization. This tool ensures that the automatically created model remains constant and connected, eliminating the need for tedious corrections. You can designate a first, second, and third priority element hierarchy. This can be useful, for example, when prioritizing column locations over beam locations. First priority elements are where the master elements, meaning that the second and third priority elements will snap to them. Likewise, the third priority elements will snap to the first and the second priority elements. 2023 for electrical engineers, there are new features for the electrical analysis. Electrical engineers and designers working in Revit can now leverage an architect's PDF, a DWG or Revit geometry to perform preliminary load calculations earlier in the design process, prior to having to even model any electrical equipment. The Revit electrical analysis tool enables you to define boundary areas for area-based loads and equipment loads. These features can help you capture the main loads, equipment, and distribution systems for your BIM projects in Revit. Interactive solar studies. So the new interactive solar study tool will help you visualize the impact of natural light and shadows on your project. There's a new set of contextual tools to help you preview and control the solar studies. We have new animation controls on the preview and play panel to intuitively explore the performance of your project under a solar study. You can navigate to the previous or next animation frame. You can move forward and backwards 10 frames at a time, or you can play the full animation in a continuous loop. You can update your lighting parameters with the new speed, sunlight intensity, shadow intensity controls on the display panel, and you can drag the sliders to particular values or manually type in the explicit values if desired. You can switch between solar study types on the fly, so still image, single day, multi-day, and lighting, and you can explore your project scene under different sun setting configurations. You can update the date and the time of the study or display a still preview at a specific frame value. Interoperability. So in 2023, there's been improvements with CAD file format support, placement, and appearance. So you can now link additional CAD files. So the format AXM, an OBJ file, an STL file into your Revit project. All the supported CAD files can now be placed on levels or named horizontal reference planes as they are important. This is in the import dialog. So just use the place at option in the drop-down menu and select the base level of the CAD import. A new instance parameter allows cutting of 3D elements in CAD files. So when this parameter is enabled, the 3D geometry is shown as a cut when the cut plane of the view intersects the element. When the parameter is not enabled, the CAD geometry is shown as projected regardless of the cut plane location. IFC files. So we have fully certified IFC imports and exports based on the Building Smart IFC data exchange standards. 2023 introduces new features for mapping standard IFC attributes to model elements. So for IFC parameters, we have the following built-in IFC attributes that have been added as instance and type parameters to all model elements. Export to IFC, export to IFC as, IFC predefined type, and IFC GUID or GUID. IFC exporting and mapping dialog. There's a new export mapping dialog that allows you to select an IFC schema and search for a specific IFC container, an element and predefined type, and then apply those values to elements in your model. The same dialog can be used to control the entities included in your IFC exports. There's also new capabilities for managing the display of meshes. So you can now override the colors on the meshes just as you can do with solids. The solid fill pattern foreground color overrides now work for meshes similarly to fabrication parts. Revit 2023 also improves the appearance of newly imported meshes by hiding their internal edges. Direct shape is a Revit element that stores externally created geometric shapes, so SAT files, OBJ. If you're working in Rhino, you bring in a 3DM and STL files. Direct shapes interpret closed solids or meshes where there's not enough information to create a real Revit element. So 2023 makes it easier to define the placement of imported or linked direct shapes. You can now choose a placement option including auto to origin to internal origin, manual to origin, manual to center. And you can also select a level or a name reference plan for that incoming geometry. So some cloud updates here. This is really interesting. With 2023, you can now create data exchanges by first publishing a Revit file, goes into the LMV file format, along with a set of 3D views to Autodesk docs. The data contained within each published 3D view can be tailored to the information needs of any specific discipline or trade. From here, you can create an exchange by selecting a published view and sharing it with a stakeholder in a neutral format that can be plugged into an Autodesk or third-party application. The data exchange is automatically updated when the source file is republished. So one we have here, the DFMA workflow designed for manufacturing and assembly, where you have Revit to Inventor. Using Revit and Inventor, you can use the data exchange to enable a seamless DFMA workflow. Business intelligence, so this is where we have Revit going to, say, Microsoft Power Automate. This is something that is coming soon. It's on its way. You can also use the data exchanges to build a connection between Revit and Microsoft Power Automate. These examples illustrate the power of automation enabled by this data. The Autodesk MEP Fabrication Data Manager, FDM, tech preview, it's now available for Revit users. So after you've downloaded and installed the MEP Fabrication Data Manager Sync, the tech preview or FDM sync, you can upload your fabrication configurations to the cloud, unlocking the new collaboration workflows. The Fabrication Data Manager Tech Preview introduces unique features to address the complex relationships between fabrication parts and provide an intuitive view into your data. This one is it's built on the Autodesk Forge platform, and the relationship browser is an enhanced navigation system that allows you to view, understand, and manage the relationships between various types of data. We have a parameters service tech preview here. So the tech preview allows you to manage your parameters library using the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Using the parameters service, you can search for parameters and pull them in bulk into your Revit model. All parameters are integrated directly into the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Parameters can be created by selecting the new parameter button. You're required to fill in the name, discipline, value type, and properties palette group. Then select at least one default category for the parameter and specify whether it should be a type or instant parameter. You can also leverage your existing shared parameter files. So from Revit, you can launch the parameters service by navigating to Manage, Parameters Service in the ribbon, Here you can perform all your parameter management activities. You can search for parameters, you can filter a view, and or add parameters into your Revit model. With design optimization, we have tools to manage cloud models in the Revit home screen. So you can now force workset relinquishing on cloud models from the Revit home screen. You can remember the last account for Revit models. So cloud models for Revit is a capability that allows users to store and access non-work shared Revit models on the Autodesk Construction Cloud, or if you're using the old BIM 360. In Revit 2023, you can decide whether to save your project to the cloud. The last use account is remembered and displayed as the Save as Cloud Model dialog box. We also have non-destructive rollback for Revit Cloud models. So this is really big. In previous releases, when you went to go and roll back a cloud model, the previous version, it was a irreversible process, and all backup versions newer than the version selected for the rollout will be permanently discarded. So in Revit 2023, we've introduced a non-destructive model rollback. So this means that all backup versions are preserved within the version history, and you can roll back or forward to any existing backup. This means you can roll back your Revit Cloud models easily, reversibly, or within the new Revit 2023. So 2023 also has general design and Dynamo Player updates. So if you've been using this for design automation, you can enjoy added flexibility with the new input types, better clarity in method naming, and more consistency across user interfaces. We have new input types. So you can define the study dialog, support several new input types for generative design. You can now enter number inputs. You can also use a slider with a number entry or type the desired number into the entry box. You can browse and access a directory path or a file path as an input in the study dialog. There's no need to define it go back and define it in the Dynamo script. And you can now use text inputs and true and false Boolean toggles. The new method names, you can define study dialog. It's going to provide new descriptions and thumbnails in the method dropdown to help you choose the proper method for your study. The cross-product method has been renamed Space Evenly to better represent how the data is combined with every parameter in a study. We also have things like the Dynamo user interface. So the user interface has been made more consistent with generative design and the Revit UI. We have better support and learning content. You can also retrieve and expand support menu using the help button in the upper right-hand corner of each dialog and get access to context-sensitive support links and the details of each study or script. Efficiency. So 2023, we've got new enhancements to control and display, to control the display of shape editor tools. So when you modify a flat floor with the shape editing tools, you can add points or split the lines to divide the surface into subregions that slope independently. In Revit 2023, the floor category includes new folding lines and split line subcategories, enabling you to control the visibility of these sloping subregions and boundaries. These new subcategories replace the interior edges subcategories from the previous versions of Revit. Key schedules. So key schedules provide a way to quickly add information to rooms and areas by adding the instant values from a key. In previous versions of Revit, the room and areas parameter values cleared empty when a key was set to none. In 2023, if a key is unassigned from an element, the last values assigned to the element are maintained. The instant values are free from the key constraint and can be modified as needed. In Revit, conditional formatting can be used to visually identify parameters within schedules that meet or do not meet design standards. So 2023 adds conditional formatting for family, type, and type parameters. You can easily select between fields that you would like to format. Each of these 3 new fields can be configured independently to help you differentiate between them. 2023 also adds capability to schedules that enables them to detect and display only those project elements relevant to the schedule that exists in other views placed on the same sheet. So you can enable this behavior by selecting the new Filter by Sheet option in the available Filter tab of the schedule properties. This filters the contents of the schedule to display only those elements appearing on the same sheet. So the schedule is still live. If you crop a view on the sheet, the contents of the schedule will instantly update. As the sheet filtering behavior is dynamic, you can place the same schedule onto multiple sheets, and each instance of the schedule will display the elements found on its respective sheet. In 2023, we also have 4 new files available in the schedules and 4 new parameters and tags. So for rebar, for cover and top face, rebar cover bottom face, and rebar cover other face. So you can now quickly check and report on concrete cover assignments for the concrete elements in your project to deliver high quality models and documentation. Displaced element. So previous versions, displaced element was used in 3D tools to do your exploded assembly parts. So 2023, this feature has been enabled for 2D views, including callouts and section views. So you can now adjust the position of an element or elements in a 2D view to help other project participants view them more clearly and better understand your design intent. Displaced elements may still be tagged as usual. You can create isometric 3D views in Revit using the displaced element tools to offset the elements from their actual position to improve visibility and documentation. In 2023, the tag feature has been enabled for these displaced elements. You may now tag the element before or after displacement. If your displaced element has been tagged previously, the tag will now move with the element. Back in 2022, we introduced the ability to associate a tag with one or more object and create multiple leaders from a single tag. In 2023, you can now select multiple elements and generate a single tag for all of them. So with the dedicated commands in the ribbon, you can control the visibility of an individual tag leader by hiding one or several of them. This is possible either during tag placement or when selecting an existing multi-leader tag. You can snap and adjust the tag leaders individually, or you can do this simultaneously. So the tag feature is extended now to support more categories. So we have individual elements such as columns. These are the architectural columns. We have entourage, gutters, roofs, soffits, handrails, ramps, walls, and sweeps. It also includes model groups and Revit links, for example, to show their own name. Shop drawings, so they've been used by detailers to clearly communicate design intent for fabrication instructions to fabricators and connectors. So 2023 offers you the ability to displace rebar elements. This means that you can offset the bars slightly from their actual positions in the concrete shop drawings to help collaborators see these elements more clearly and understand your design intent more easily. When the rebars are displaced in a view, their positions are changed in that view only. So the displaced bars may still be tagged as usual. 2023 makes it easier for you to view reinforcement in 3D views as solids. Simply set the 3D views detail level to fine, and the rebars will be displayed with a solid representation. To view as solid, to view a solid property in the view visibility states has been removed. In this dialog, you can now toggle to the unobscured property for multiple selected rows using the spacebar. The toggle visibility option is now available for all reinforcement elements, so area path, rebar, fabric, sheet, and rebar couplers in the right-click menu as a keyboard shortcut. This also toggles the unobscured property. 2023 also handles the demolished MEP elements in their systems. Elements now maintain their system connection and information in the demolished phase. In 2023, electrical equipment circuit numbers show in the properties palette. So the circuit number parameter is available for panel schedules and for the electrical equipment tags. And 2023 includes a highly voted request feature from the Revit ideas related to contour labels. So in previous releases, these labels would display upside down in certain orientations. So now the contour labels will always display with the proper text orientation. 2023 also improves the behavior of generic annotation families to maintain a consistent orientation with the host elements. Previous versions, the generic annotations on ceiling plans would point in the opposite direction from the same element on plan views. So in 2023, generic annotations on ceiling plans will match the plan view orientation. 2023 also offers the ability to choose which order you would like the page order to be for a PDF and print output. So you can customize your page orders by predefined browser organization, ascending sheet numbers, or on your own manual order. Manual orders allow you to just basically drag and drop the sheets into whichever order you choose. The filled region tool allows you to define filled areas in the detailed views or add filled regions to annotation families. In the latest version, 2023, it enables you to use the instance parameters for fill pattern. So this means you can individually control the fill pattern for each instance of a filled region in your project. 2023, it's going to make it easier to snap to views on a sheet. To snap to a view currently placed on a sheet with a compatible view, you can select an existing view and navigate to the positioning and view the view of the contextual panel on the ribbon. The viewport positioning parameter is saved for each individual viewport and determines how the view is positioned when swapped. You can select the viewport center to use the center of the viewpoint as a reference, or view origin to use the origin of the view itself. Wall sweep. So when modeling walls in Revit, the sweep tool is used to add decorative horizontal or vertical projections such as baseboards, cornices, parapet caps, etc. By default, these elements inherit their graphical appearance from the walls to which they are hosted. 2023 has a new subcategory for wall sweeps that has been added to the view filters, making it possible to actually control the visibility and graphical appearance of the wall sweeps independently from their hosts. So for example, you can create a view filter that overrides the line work that will display for the wall sweep subcategory. Once this filter has been defined and added to the view, wall sweeps are automatically colorized as specified. Now, I know we're at the hour. Ty, but just pause for a second, and I've still got a few slides to go. Are we okay just to keep running for another 5 more minutes? I'll assume that's a yes. Maybe Ty's not listening in.
I said, sorry, yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Sorry, I'm on my headset.
Okay. Okay, so just about to move into Navisworks, only another 5 more minutes. Sorry to go over time. There's a lot to take in today. So the project browser, it helps you navigate the views, the schedules, the sheets, groups of families comprising of your current project. In the latest version, 2023, there is a new feature that's going to make it a lot more easier for you to see the views that are placed on the sheets. So if you go and expand the project browser, you'll see a square icon on the left of each view name now. The solid filled icon indicates that the view is currently placed on a sheet. An empty icon means that the view is not placed on a sheet. A half-filled icon, when that appears, when a schedule has been split and some but not all of the segments of that schedule are currently placed on the sheet. So this icon is displayed for all items listed in the project browser, including the views, the legends, the schedules, the graphical column schedules, and the panel schedules. You can, however, deactivate this behavior by right-clicking on the project browser and deselecting the Show View Placement on Sheet Status Icons option. Okay, with the last 5 minutes, just a few little updates here on Navisworks for anybody who's using Navisworks for federated models, for clash detection. We've got some updates on the cloud and data, simulation, and interoperability. A number of features here on the cloud and data and simulation, and more to do with the interoperability. So for Navisworks 2023, it's going to enable more parameter values from Revit link models to be viewed in the properties window. When you select a wall in Navisworks, the properties window will display its structural usage. If the wall is from an architectural model, you might see non-bearing here. If it has been designated as a structural wall, you will see bearing, shear, or structural combined in the Elements tab. You also will find material areas and volumes for structural elements in the tab. Navisworks users, they can open models in Navisworks directly from coordination spaces in model coordination using the coordinate issues from the Autodesk Navisworks add-in. So this is the model coordination in the Autodesk BIM Collaborate Pro platform. So with the Clash Detective feature, you can perform advanced clash detection on more than 50 file formats, 56 to be precise. Navisworks Manage enables you to review individual clashes in context and help find and resolve conflicts. You also have access to a number of comprehensive tools to do more with clash data, work out model hierarchy, specific properties, or level information. In Navisworks 2023, this is one of the big things with interoperability. You've got more enhancements to control the view appearance and navigation when comparing models using the appearance profiler. So when you're working on multiple viewpoints, you can visualize highlighted results from the compare tool. The compare tool in Navisworks is used to find the differences between two versions of the model. In 2023, the compare models are now automatically shown in shaded mode, providing better visualization of the highlighted results. You can also load and apply an appearance profiler. So the appearance profiler tool in Navisworks is used to define custom appearance profiles based on search sets. So when you're going to set up a search and selection profile and its property values, it can be saved out as a DAT file and shared with other users in the project. The 2023, it has a common line that has been added to automatically load and apply appearance profiles. So this means that you can now load an appearance profiler from the .dat file during a batch NWD creation. So this is removing the need to actually load those appearance profiles for each sessions. Finally, to wrap up, interoperability. So there's been several enhancements for FBX files. Those are the files that include lights and geometry and materials. There's user-defined properties, which are now supported when importing FBX files and are displayed in the properties window. User-defined properties can now be exported from Navisworks using the FBX option available in the Output tab. And the amount of duplicated geometry when creating from an NWD to an FBX has been reduced, resulting in a much more smaller file size. So this is going to be more efficient for your exporting process. We have many new IFC enhancements like in Revit. So 2023 now supports V3 of the IFC reader, providing general performance improvements. This enhancement includes respecting the IFC file property units and includes the correct display of the IFC GUI and the elements of the properties window. New in the IFC page of the options editor, there are several options to create selection sets, which is selected on by default, and you have an option to also disable this. Also in the option editor of the IFC page, it includes an option to convert the axes or exclude object axes when importing IFC files. This is turned off by default to help improve your viewing and navigation experience. So performance 2023 is getting faster. I opened up a massive model the other day and it just zoomed right through it. So it has several enhancements to significantly improve the overall performance, coordination performance. So it's much better working with the RVT files when you bring them in natively instead of waiting for them to load up. It will do it really quickly, and IFC files. Working with those large files, perhaps in Autodesk Vault, using the Vault add-in, that's been boosted as well. And last couple of slides here, display IDs. So these are now shown in the timeliner overlay text box. It now maintains the custom color selections between the sessions. And finally, switchback enables you to select an object in Navisworks and then locate and zoom to the same object in a native CAD package. So Navisworks and Inventor switchback now support welded joints in Inventor files. And when appending a Navisworks cache file or Revit file, Navisworks now maintains the relationship between the host and nested families and displays the shared parameters on the properties window under the type tab. So with that, I've got 5 minutes over, a lot to take in today. We may have to do a separate session for the other topics, but just to summarize, we covered FormIt Pro and the interoperability between FormIt Pro and Revit, some of the new features saving to docs, a lot of features in the Revit 2023. I hope the Revit users on the call got a lot out of that. There's been a huge amount of work done in this release, and some improvements with interoperability and IFCs in the Navisworks 2023. And with that, I'll hand back over to Ty and the team to finish up.